G'day, Steve Morgan here. Australian Bass Tournaments with the winner of the Ecogear round of the 13Fishing Bass Pro Series on the Hunter River, brand new venue, Matt Langford. Doesn't matter if we've been there 100 times or it's brand new. You seem to dominate events this year. This is your third win.
Yeah, I've had another good year. I'm pretty stoked with it. Last year was a really great year, and this year has been just as good. So yeah, privileged to fish the events we do, and hang out with the guys that we really like hanging out with, and we seem to do well.
Just take us through the way you break down a new venue. I know a lot of people will be interested on, what does Langers do when he goes to a joint that he's probably never ever fished in his whole life and probably didn't even know about.
Yeah, I spent a little bit of time looking around. Me and Mick flew down a while back and we idled around the system. Because there's different rivers and different arms and that sort of stuff. We spent a lot of time just looking at the place, or scoping the place out, I guess, just searching and looking for those areas that held fish and that didn't, and where the bait was and where they weren't. So that helped. That gave us sort of a bit of an idea of what to look for. And then when it came to actually coming down and pre-fishing, the fish was still in there, it looked like there was still a fair few fish that were still spawning. And that was up in the Williams River. They were out in 15 feet in the middle of the river, and they were basically just rubbing their bellies on the bottom. And that pre-fish day, I caught multiple fish all the way up and down that river, just jigging a ZX43 blade. And then we had another spot down, I think it's Hexham, the big bridge down further, and it had a lot of EPs. So I was making my way down there, and as I was going, I was just sort of swapping sides, fishing different banks, fishing the inside bank, fishing the outside, and then found a couple of really awesome little divots in the bank. I guess you could call them pressure points, or where that current really rushed around and created a back eddy.
Yep.
Found two of those spots, and both of those spots held huge amounts of bait and lots of feeding fish. So so the plan was to go down Williams, fish the ZXs, get a confidence bag, and then go and see if I could upgrade on those bigger fish at those pressure points.
So how did it roll out in the tournament? I think you were the first angler to actually have your limit. And are you a looker at the scoreboard in an app tournament? Do you like having a bit of a glance and seeing how you're going?
Yeah, I did. I must admit, on the first day, I wasn't sure how the other anglers were going, so I had a bit of a look. But when I went up to the Williams River, like I said, I went up there and I fished the Ecogear ZX43 blade, Miller Rods Extra Finesse long cast, just fishing them vertically. Went up there to get the bag early, dropped them to the bottom, little short sharp stabs off the bottom, and those fish were climbing all over them. And that was about probably 8 o'clock. I moved to the other points in the Hunter River where a lot of those fish were, and again, I got a really big upgrade. I got a 44 centimetre on that. And then as the tide slowed, I found that fishing the ZX slowed down a little bit. And a lot of those fish were actually pushing the prawns up in those eddies up on the edge. And you could actually physically see the boils from the bass.
Yep.
So another favourite lure of mine is the Rapala BX Brat 6. Dives to about 6 feet, little square bill. Throwing that up against the rocks in the eddy, and you can just crash dive that into the rocks and bump it through all the current. And those bigger bass, I think I got 9 out of it might have been 8 out of the 10 keeper fish on the BX Brat.
All right, what sort of line do you use, mate? What sort of braid?
I use Yamatoyo resin sheller braid. So that on there is 22-pound braid. On the other one, on the spin rod, is 9-pound braid, and I use 14-pound leader. On that one, that's a Miller Rod Switch Freak UL as well. Inception Sport Z, really great reel from 13Fishing, and just try and keep the leader size fairly strong with the crankbaits, because you're bashing on rocks and those fish hit pretty hard. You want something pretty strong. And on the other one, it's Yamatoyo 9-pound braid and Yamatoyo 10-pound leader.
Well, it was the Ecogear event. You won an Ecogear lure. You reckon Tony would shout you some more braid for that reel or what?
I reckon, yeah, it's getting a bit short, that one.
Can afford about 20 or 30 more metres, I reckon, mate. How many times does it happen in ABT events when a sponsored naming event, Ecogear event, gets one, the non-boater and the boater side on their lures? It's crazy how it happens all the time.
Yeah, it happens. You say it all the time, that sponsor karma. kicks in, and it definitely did in that event. Troy won it on a ZX blade in the Coangler division, and I, went sort of 50-50, I guess, with the number of fish we caught on the Brat and the Ecogear ZX40. So,
Yep.
great. I use the ZX40 in dark night everywhere, and it just catches fish everywhere.
Yep.
And I think I got, what did I get? I got flatties, dewies, brim, eels, carp, everything. It
Yep.
catches every fish.
Don't you reckon that Ecogear should have just bought black paint and chucked all the other colours away?
Yeah, although Keegan Painter, he does like pink, so yeah, there's some pretty, but yeah, black seems. I've heard metre 20 cod getting caught on them too,
Yep.
so they just catch fish.
Great year for you. Anyone you want to thank? You're looked after by some of the same guys that look after ABT.
Yeah, and thanks for looking after ABT and myself. But Ken Mills Toyota, Garmin Australia, Rapala and 13 Fishing, the boys there are awesome. Miller Rods for the great rods that I use. I've got quite a few sponsors. Bassman Spinnerbaits, JML, obviously Ecogear, and Tony. He's always there for me, Tony. It's awesome. He's been there for a long time. Bahio Sunglasses, Mick Johnson. He's a good mate of mine as well. Looks after us really well. Railblazer and Sunblest sunscreens as well. They look after us. But with traveling around doing what we do, even my guiding, the guys look after us, and I love what I do, and they support me, which is fantastic.
Well, let's give you guiding a shout out. You've pitched in the public servant job now, mate. You're doing it all yourself. You're running your own business. Give yourself a plug.
Yeah, that's right. I'm full time now. I'm not teaching anymore. So if you do want to come out for a day on the water with us, it's Australian Freshwater Fishing Charters, based out of Kingaroy, service all of southeast Queensland in all the freshwater impoundments. Look us up on Facebook and Instagram, and also I've got a website. It's www.australianfreshwaterfishing.com.au.
There you go. Great plug, mate. Or you can just pay $150 as a non-boater and go for free, basically.
Yeah, well, that too. Yeah, it's another good way.
You might get drawn with me though instead of you, and then you waste your money.
Yeah, but that's what I say. Like, people come on the charters all the time, and I do say, if you want to get into the tournaments, ABT is the way to do it. But to fast track your knowledge, there's a heap of guides out there, and definitely getting a guide and showing you around the place is also good.
Yep. Well, there you go. He's won his third event from the year. He's nearly unbeatable at Angler of the Year. We'll just see what happens up at Lake St Clair. Congratulations, Matty Langford. You got it done again.